How do you determine directions on a map?
In the past, most maps included a direction finder as part of the map. The direction finder was called a compass rose. Most old maps have very artistic and elaborate compass roses. They have the directions of north, south, east, and west marked on the 4 points of the diagram. Today, if maps include a compass rose, sometimes only north is identified, and you are expected to know where the other directions are located once you have established which way is north. Then you know that east is 90 degrees clockwise from north, that south is opposite north, and west is opposite east. Many maps don't include a direction-finding device at all. You can find directions on such a map by looking for other clues. Some maps put just an arrow on the map pointing north. This is like a simplified compass rose. Some maps write in the 4 cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west, on the top, bottom, and the sides of the map. If there is no clue drawn on the map, that usually means that the top of the map is north, and the bottom is south, and so on. But be careful. There are some maps published today that are perspective maps, or maps seen from a special viewpoint, and they may not have a direction finder on them. The top of such a map doesn't have to be north. On these maps, look for the latitude and longitude lines. They will help you locate north, and then you can determine the other direction.
How can you determine distances on a map?
Most maps, as part of their construction, have a device that helps you determine distance on that particular map. It is called a scale, and it measures distances in either miles or kilometers or both. The most often used scale is a bar graph of some kind. Using your ruler or even the edge of a piece of paper, you can mark off a certain distance using the scale, and then mark off that distance between the 2 points on the map that you are looking at. Distances on maps can be measured in feet. A mile, several miles, or even hundreds of miles, depending on the scale of the map. Some maps are called small-scale maps because they show a large area of the Earth's surface. On these maps, distance would be measured in hundreds of miles. If it is a large-scale map, the distances could be measured in very small parts, such as a mile or even feet. Sometimes scale is shown as a ratio, such as 1 to 10, or even 1 to 100,000. This means that 1 unit on the map is equal to 10 or 100,000 units on the Earth. These units can be labeled as inches, feet, yards, miles, or other such units. If you are using a bar scale to measure distances on a map, you can also mark off the distance between 2 places on the map, and then compare that to the bar scale. For example, if you are trying to find the distance between Oslo, Norway, and Stockholm, Sweden, mark off the distance with a ruler. Then you place the ruler underneath the bar scale, such as on this map. As you can see, the distance between Oslo and Stockholm is 300 miles.
How do you plot latitude and longitude on a map?
By plotting latitude and longitude, you can locate where places are on a globe or a map. The latitude lines are the lines on the map that are parallel to the equator. The numbers of these lines are located at the sides of the map. The longitude lines going north and south have their numbers along the top and the bottom of the map. When trying to locate a city or a place using latitude and longitude, find the coordinates at the sides and the bottom of the map. Latitude lines are measured in terms of north and south of the equator, and longitude lines are measured east and west of the prime meridian. Use a ruler or your finger to trace the proper lines across the map until they meet. Where these 2 lines intersect or cross each other is the place you are looking for. Let's try an example. We are trying to locate a place at 30 degrees north latitude and 31 degrees east longitude. Find 30 degrees north of the equator along the side of the map. Okay, now find where 31 degrees east of the prime meridian is located. Remember, those numbers are at the bottom or the top of the map. Now carefully bring your two fingers together to the point where they meet. What city is located at that spot? If you think it's Cairo, you are correct. Always remember to be careful when trying to use latitude and longitude. Ask yourself these questions. Is the place north or south of the equator, and is it east or west of the prime meridian? The most common mistakes in plotting the coordinates are usually due to not being careful in answering these two questions.
How are colors used on maps?
Political maps use colors primarily to show different countries, or, as on this map of Canada, the 10 internal political units called provinces and the 2 territories. On this political map of the United States, the states are also colored to show their boundaries. No two states of the same color touch each other. When political maps show rivers and major lakes, they are usually colored blue. Colors are also used to show different gradations of elevations on relief or physical maps. According to the legend of this map of South America, green is for the areas of the lowest elevation. The darkest shade of brown indicates the highest elevation. The various shades between the green and the dark brown show the different stages of increased altitude above sea level. Maps that show vegetation and climate regions use colors also. Each type of region is a different color. This vegetation map of Europe shows that the central part of the continent has a large area where mixed forest is the natural vegetation. You can see that because the color medium green, which represents mixed forest, is found in the middle of the continent. On this map of climate regions of Asia, the Russia coastline is colored violet. What type of climate does the region have? After looking at the legend, you can see that it has a tundra climate, which is very cold and dry. Population density maps can use color to show the levels of population per square mile in a given area. The darker colors mean higher population densities. Let's look at a population density map of the world. Which parts of the world have the most people? As you can easily see, Japan, China, India, Central Europe, and the northeastern part of the United States are some of the larger areas with the highest concentrations of people. As you have seen with the various maps just shown you, colors can visually convey information about many things portrayed on maps.
What are some common symbols or features used on political maps?
On these types of maps, national boundaries and internal political boundaries are often shown as solid black lines. Dots are used to show the location of cities. Some maps use different sized dots to represent cities with different sized populations. Most political maps identify national capitals with a star within a circle. Large metropolitan areas are sometimes outlined and colored. Let's look at a map of Australia and answer some questions about it. First, what is the capital of Australia? Canberra is the answer. You can see that it is identified with a star within a circle. How are state capitals identified? Let's look for the capital of Victoria. Yes, it is Melbourne. It is marked on the map with just a star. Let's go across the country to Western Australia. What is the state capital? If you said Perth, you are correct. As stated before, political maps use colors and lines to show boundaries of the various internal political units. Can you look at this map and name the state which completely surrounds the Australian Capital Territory? New South Wales is the correct answer. Find the state that is an island. Tasmania is its name. Look at Australia's neighbor, New Zealand. Wellington is the capital, but it is not the largest metropolitan area. Can you tell which is the largest city in New Zealand? If you think it is Auckland, you are correct. How could you tell? Yes, it has the largest dot in the country. Political maps are easy to read if you know what the various symbols and colors stand for.
What are some common features shown on physical maps?
Let's look at a map of South America. On this physical map, many features are labeled or drawn on the map. On the west coast, you see that the Andes Mountains are identified. The Brazilian highlands are located on the east coast. What highlands region is found on the northern coast? Guiana Highlands is correct. Some of the rivers identified include the Amazon and some of its major tributaries, the Orinoco in the north, the Paraguay-Paraná river system in the southern part of the continent, and the Magdalena River in Colombia. High mountain peaks are also identified along with major volcanoes. What is the name of the mountain located near the Argentina-Chile border near Santiago, Chile? Yes, it is Mount Aconcagua. It is the highest mountain on this continent. Sometimes the elevations of these peaks are written on the map. How high is Mount Aconcagua? If you have said over 22,000 feet, you are correct. Major bodies of water are identified too. The Atlantic and the Pacific Oceans are named. So is the Strait of Magellan at the tip of the continent. Major lakes are also labeled. What is the lake located on the border of Peru and Bolivia? The answer, of course, is Lake Titicaca. Physical or relief maps also usually show where the countries and major cities are located for reference points. They also use colors, as mentioned earlier, to show elevations, as does this map.
What are some important features on a road or highway map?
This is a road map of Kansas. As you can see, most of the state's major towns and cities are located on the map. The names of larger cities are printed in larger letters, and some metropolitan areas such as Kansas City, Topeka, and Wichita are shaded in. Of course, major highways, toll roads, and state roads are drawn on the map too. These roadways are labeled with different highway symbols and numbers. The different highway markers include interstates, other U.S. roads, state, primary, and secondary roads. Other things may also be shown on these maps. State attractions, national and state lands such as parks, monuments. Some physical features such as rivers and lakes and county seats can be found on most road maps. Using this map, which major roadway would you take to go from Topeka to Salina? I-70 would be your best answer. It goes directly from Topeka to Salina, and you would not have to change highways. What does I-70 stand for? Well, the I means it is an interstate highway. You can take I-70 across the country from Maryland to Utah. You can also identify it as an interstate because of the highway symbol on the map. As a point of reference, interstates with even numbers, such as 70, run east and west. Interstates with odd numbers go north and south. Here in Kansas, you can see I-35, going from Wichita to Kansas City. That highway can take you north from Laredo, Texas, all the way to Duluth, Minnesota. According to this map, what is the symbol for a toll road? You have to pay to drive on a toll road. What is the name of the major toll road in Kansas? The Kansas Turnpike is correct. What two interstates intersect near Salina? Yes, I-135 crosses over I-70, just north of that city. What is the name of the point of interest just west of Lebanon? It is the geographical center of the continental U.S. As you can see, Road maps are full of information about many things.
Name some symbols and features shown on city maps.
City maps are called large-scale maps. They show a lot more information about an area than most other maps. For instance, looking at this map of Mexico City, how can you find an airport? Yes? How could you tell? That's right, an airport is identified by a small drawing of an airplane. In addition to major roadways and local streets, city maps can show where government buildings, schools, tourist attractions, hospitals, parks, and other cultural facilities are located. Bridges and causeways over water can also be included on these maps, as can bus and train stations, and the elements of a transit system. Individual neighborhoods and smaller municipalities may also be identified.